Okay, today on Fish's Call Sheet, I have a multi-hyphenated powerhouse. She has done a little bit of everything and is now really building something special. And it's one of the reasons that I wanted to welcome Tema Staig to Fish's Call Sheet. Welcome, Tema.
Thank you, Michael. So happy to be here.
This is fun for me because I know you very well. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big fan of kind of all the things you're putting into the world, and we'll get to that. But I want to go back to the beginning. Mm-hmm. What was the first job you had in this business?
Well, I started in theater, like so many of us do. I eventually worked myself up through theater and working in nightclubs, actually, which were very theatrical, where I got to work with a lot of big stars like Cab Calloway and Jennifer Holliday, wonderful people. And eventually it led me to scenic art, where that was really my deep dive into what we do in this industry. And I was a scenic artist for many years. And then I realized that I didn't want to be the one getting the little models and then making them in real scale. I thought, well, I'm a creative person and I would like to be the one making the models, coming up with the ideas. So I thought, well, I'll see about going back to graduate school and see if that will help me get more work in the industry. So I went back to college and I went to NYU for my graduate work. And then I started making films as a production designer. My first short film went to Sundance, which was an amazing experience. Then my next project right after that was a feature called Kissing Jessica Stein, where I was the art director on that. And it was the little film that could. And that was an incredible experience. It was trial by fire because it was New York. And of course, you know, you have a million company moves. You're going from the Lower East Side to the Upper West Side and all kinds of craziness. People who get along, people who don't get along, being the mediator for much of that. And then also making sure that you're on budget and on time. It was a huge learning experience. And the film did really, really well, which was a big shocker. It made me realize no matter how much you love a film or maybe you're working on a film that you're like, oh, it's one for love, one for money, you never know what's going to be a big hit. Because I thought, oh, there's a little film. It's like about a young woman who's trying out her sexuality to see if maybe she wants something different. And I thought, oh, who's going to see this little film? And it blew up. It did well. It played everywhere. And it was the kind of film where I told my mom and my aunt, I was like, hey, there's this little film festival that my movie's playing there. You need to go see it because you're never going to see it otherwise. And sure enough, it played in the middle of the country, played everywhere. So you never know.
Yeah, we never know how big something's going to be. Mm-hmm. And in the middle of it, sometimes you feel good about something.
Yeah.
But you never know what's going to happen at the other end. You don't know what's going to happen after it's edited and after every person who is along the way in the distribution process kind of has their say in it and all these pieces. And then there's a little bit of luck or magic, right? You just have to hit the right time and the right audience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Conversely, I worked on another project. I was like, oh, this is the best script. It's so great. It had these amazing bookends. And then by the time it got through, like the initial director's cut was kind of great. And I was like, I was so proud. And then they did some pickup shoots and it ended up, they just changed the bookends and they changed the real context of the movie. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it happens.
A little crestfallen.
Yeah.
But it was still a good film. It was still a good film. It was just different. It changed so much with just a day's worth of pickup shoots.
I've done that. We've had whole episodes. I had an episode on the Connors that was all about the family going to a black church, which I thought was fantastic. And at a time when the country was really in conflict, I thought it was a great way.
Which time would that be, Michael?
Well, kind of all of them are that way, I guess. So we thought we had this beautiful kind of affirming, connective episode. And then they went back and reshot some bits and pieces, and those bits and pieces became the primary portion of the episode, and the original story became almost the C story and became seconds in the thing. So when we watched it live, again, crestfallen is the right way of explaining it. It's like we got together thinking we had this really pivotal, powerful thing. And the episode was good because it became about grief, but it wasn't the same, and it wasn't what I felt like the world needed at the time.
Yeah.
Which was heartbreaking, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about being an art director for a minute?
Sure.
Because people don't really know what that is.
Yeah, producers don't know what that is.
So can you explain that for people so they have an idea?
Yes. So your production designer and art director, two different jobs, right? So production designer has kind of the overall vision for the project. They know what kind of colors and textures and shapes they want to do. They talk with the other department heads and the director, of course, to make sure that the project has an aesthetic, architectural, all those things are going to make sense. And the art director is the right-hand person who makes sure that it's being implemented properly. I mean, you want to make sure that you're on budget and on time, of course, that all the plates that are spinning are all where they need to be, and they're working with the coordinator and all the other people who work underneath in the art department. And there's many. There's a reason why we have so many people in the art department, because it's a very big job. So they want to make sure that the plans are being adhered to and done correctly, working with construction. If you're building, they want to make sure that the scenic work is going according to spec. Drawings and color chips and all the things that we give scenic artists, that things are coming about like that. I mean, almost like the gaffer is to the DP in some ways.
Yeah,
Does that kind of make sense?
It's the way I always look at it is like, it's the visual presentation. Mm-hmm. Everyone talks about what that's going to be, and the camera portion of it's great. But if the canvas is not already set and the scenery is not what you want it to be,
right,
it really will take away. And then we thought this thing was a great idea in the background, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, it's too distracting, or it's too
right,
vibrant, or you paint stuff sometimes and then you look at it on camera and it's a beautiful color, mm-hmm, but it's different than the tone necessarily that they wanted.
Sure.
Or sometimes it's a clash, sometimes skin tones and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you've done that in pre-production.
Right.
I mean, this is an issue that's been happening more and more, is that people don't have enough pre-production time. And that's really when you head off those problems and issues. You want to fix it in prep, because fixing it in post is not always really doable. Fixing it on the day gets expensive.
Right.
Right? So if it's a color thing and your scenic's going to have to come back in and repaint things, you want to make sure that's kind of been figured out in advance. And what I've done in the past is just gotten a simple piece of foam core and painted it a number of different shades of the colors we're thinking of, and then we try to get the actors, if we're able to, get the actors and maybe in something close to what they might be wearing in that location, try to put them in front of that and at least get still shots of it. We're not going to approximate the lighting most likely, but at least we can get an idea. And that was really helpful on a project I did where we had two brunettes and somebody with very red hair. And we had to make sure that they all looked good in the space. And we found that this one color that we wanted to use, the redhead disappeared. The brunettes looked amazing. One had lighter brunette hair and the other one had darker brunette hair. They looked amazing in this, but the redhead just disappeared and we couldn't have that happen. So we just pivoted and used a different color. But we did that in prep. We figured it out in prep, as opposed to getting there on the day and now we're like, oh my God, what are we going to do?
Well, so much of that now, when we don't have prep time or we've rushed through this process, because to cut money, they're cutting it in these very vital spaces.
Yeah.
It's a really hard thing when you get on set and all of a sudden it's like, okay, that doesn't work, because everybody wants it fixed, but it takes time.
Yeah, I mean, paint has to dry. There's nothing you can do about it. You can put a million fans on in the room, but if you've had to take all the dressing down, even for just one wall, you've taken the dressing down, you've moved shelves or whatever, and then somebody had to go through and paint it real fast, even though that might seem pretty fast, it still has to all go back. And that's wasting everybody's time. So I think factoring in that little extra bit of prep, I know it sounds almost counterintuitive, but it's going to save you money, is what it comes down to. Preparation always saves time. Preparation saves time.
Well, and it's down to little things like, you know, what's behind you. I mean, even here, I spent a couple minutes putting stuff behind just in real quick, not to your level, but like there's a big difference. If it's an empty space, it will feel weird. And you can't tell where people are in the room. Right. Right? Because if you have somebody walking across a plain wall, you don't know where they are in the space. They might as well be on a treadmill. Whereas if you at least have like a picture behind them,
maybe some flowers over there, but something that's going to speak to where they are in time and space and why they're in that space. That will bring out more about the characters and the story. I mean, are they a fish out of water? Because then that's fun. That's great. Let's make the space totally opposite to who they are. If we think about it, we can have colors that will maybe not clash with who they are, but be of a different style than who they are, and have things in the room that are different than who they are. But if it's the other, where you're showing affinity and they're meant to be in this space, you can think about that as well. All these things are so important when we're telling a story, and the audience feels it. It's going to be somewhat subliminal, but they're going to know. The audience is smart, and they pick it up like that. They won't be like, oh, there's flowers there, it means this. They're not doing that. But we all walk into a space and we understand what a space is. It's really important that we keep those things in mind.
Yeah, there's context, right? Everywhere we go, every time we walk into a restaurant, we walk into a place, anywhere in public, you're evaluating, whether you realize how much you're evaluating or not. And in film, even the tone. Like if you're happy at the beginning and it's going to become a darker tone over the course of a film, all of that has to be planned and laid out. Or reverse, if you start really dark and there's a beautiful love story that, say, unfolds and the person kind of comes out of their shell, the world is going to change to reflect that, and they're going to change. Maybe they're going to change not just what they're wearing, but their space that they live in.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's the visual language. So it's like if somebody starts out in a clean world, like you're saying, and everything is fine, their world is great, life is going well, and they become a complete and total disaster by the end of it. They haven't done their dishes anymore. You know, they're completely depressed. I mean, you need to show that. You're going to tell it in other ways through the script, but you don't want to have to say, man, you're a disaster. You want to show that somebody's a disaster, and that's where art department can really help you.
I have just marveled at your attention to detail, which is why I think you were great in that area, but it also made you great in other areas. What is the best part from an art department, from when you were in that world? What was the best part of that job, and then the hardest part of it?
Oh, man. So this is something that was kind of a little bit of both, and it's translated for my entire career for whatever I've wanted to do. Starting out in independent film, the budgets are such that in order to work at the standard I wanted to work at, I had to not be afraid to make a phone call. So I learned early on that I could get what I wanted, even with a lower budget, if I just made phone calls. And you know what? If I call a company and I work out a deal with them, then that will make my work look better. It will up the production value for the project, and hopefully I'll get hired again, and you know, I'll get to go to Sundance or have a film that does really well. It works out for them, right? They get like a credit in the movie or something like that. And I always figured, what's the worst that can happen? They can tell me no. And no is free.
Yes.
So,
well, in this business, we get used to no.
We get used to no.
If you can't live with the no, this business will drive you crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But every yes is kind of magical because it means you got something great.
It feels so good.
Yeah.
When somebody says yes, you're like, wow, it's just so great. It's like they said yes, and it feels so, it's a very warm feeling. It feels really good, and you feel like everybody has a win. It's a very good feeling. And that carried through with the CAMERAderie project as well. That got started. That's a long story. We can get into that. But like my first yes, I was in a restaurant in Santa Monica. I was teaching at the time, and I was in like a fairly nice restaurant, just having a salad before I went to go teach. And I made a request of a local company. They gave me more than what I originally was going to ask for, but I asked for it. And they were like, oh yeah, we can do that. And I tell you, I stood up in this restaurant and I was like quiet screaming. I had to put him on mute. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it was such a good feeling. Yeah. It was so great.
Yeah, well, and those are those wins, right? Especially if there's something you need and the budget's not there for it.
Sure.
But you still want to do something significant. And it's taking the extra step to say, okay, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to take this chance. I'm going to try and get what we really need. And there's always a different way to go about it. I think that's what we learned in production more than anything. There's always a different way to achieve the goal.
Yeah, and you just figure it out. You know, and like I say, it's like if somebody says no, no harm, no foul, you just keep moving on and figure out why they said no. It might be honestly they can't do it, and it might be they just weren't interested, and both are fair. Both are fair. But you get more yeses than nos when you feel strongly about what your ask is.
Do you have anything that you had to source? Because I remember being a set dresser and a prop person. There's always, it's the one thing you never anticipated, or somebody says, do you have one that sticks out in your head where you're like, you had to go source something or find something that you're like, really?
Yeah, there's been a lot of things like that. You know, back when I was a prop master for like a small theater in Massachusetts, I was really young, and they needed like an entire kitchen. It's different. Prop mastering for theater is different than film, in that props are props. In theater, it's your object, right, that the actors are holding. Whereas in theater, it's like all the stuff. It's all the furniture and so forth. But it had to be a certain period. I was in a small town, and we had to source like an entire kitchen, including the refrigerator and all that. It had to have all these other specialty things that happened with it that we needed, that we could just, and of course on a budget. So trying to figure out where to get all that stuff was very, very challenging. And sometimes things have to be built as well, which is actually more fun when you get to like build stuff. Like
I used to love fabricating stuff.
So much fun.
It's one of my favorite things and I'm like, yes, I can make not everything, but a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a question of like time and like money, and like we've built everything from really normal, like old 1950s style, like antique kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To really extreme, like futuristic ray guns and things, or
so much fun.
And that's where the fun is.
So great. Yeah. I mean, we had to build pods for a monster's tentacle to come out of, and that was really fun. We had the breakaway glass, and then we got to paint it. And luckily, having a paint background, I was hanging out with the effects folks, painting things, and I was like, hey, I know I'm the production designer, but I kind of like how to do this. And I'd sent them pictures, drawings of what I wanted to see. I had built a little model as well, but I got to spend like a little time actually working with them in the truck to build those pieces. And the effects guy was like, hey, you're actually not bad at this. I'm like, thanks.
That's always the weird compliment, right? Like, oh, you're better at this than I thought you were going to be, right? Because they're used to lots of people volunteering that aren't really great at it, right?
This was a guy who'd been working in the industry for like ever and ever. So I'd worked with him a few times. And, since people are used to me kind of dressing like this, they don't remember a time when I had my hair in a ponytail and I was wearing filthy clothes, and I would be in a balaclava sometimes because I had a cup gun. Like, they don't know me from being a scenic artist. So to see me actually doing scenic art, it kind of blows their mind sometimes. Like when we were doing CAMERAderie shorts, I wasn't teaching that portion of the classes. So I was like, oh, I'll paint something marble, this fireplace. And they were like, okay. They're like expecting some like horrible, like when your mom or your grandma or uncle had like a sponge and they just would like sponge the wall and it looked like bad 80s sponging. But then they were like, oh, that looks like marble. They were shocked.
That's the best. It's the best when you surprise people, right? When people are like, oh, I don't know. Or when you pitch an idea and people like don't have a real perspective on it, and then all of a sudden it comes back and they're like, that looks like marble. And you're like, yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, like I told you I was going to paint it to be wood, or marble or whatever it is. And then they're kind of surprised, which is great.
So you've transitioned into a lot of producing and a lot of leading. When I look at production design, it's a person who has to really see the whole project.
Yeah.
So it's not really a shock to me. I think in our business, people are shocked when people make big jumps in their mind, but the reality is it's a lot of the same skill set used in a different area. Talk about becoming a producer, helping to put together projects and build things.
Yeah, a lot of it came from my skills as a department head. Production design is a hard department, right? You're moving things. You've got a million trucks in the air and so much going on. And like I say, you have to be able to make a phone call and to juggle a lot of personalities, right? Because as a production designer, you're talking with the DP, you're talking with the director, making sure that everything is happy and running well within your team, and that everybody's conversing well with the grips and the electrics, and everybody's happy and getting along. So as a producer, it's similar. You have to make sure that things are happening in a timely fashion. If you get on set and the shot hasn't come off as early as it maybe should have, you need to figure out who you need to talk to figure that out and make sure that it goes through the right channels. So, what I do as a producer is I beeline actually for the script supervisor, no matter what department I'm in, whether I'm art department or producer, I beeline it for script. And they can tell me if we're on target for the day, how much we owe, what's happening, and then I go to the first AD. Or I don't. If I don't have to, I don't. I'm like, oh, awesome, I'll go keep out of the way now. Since everything is looking good, I'll just go look pretty and watch the monitor.
It's a unique thing as a producer when you start taking a hand in that. And I think a lot of that has led to kind of your additional teaching. And I think what you do that most people don't see is you're constantly investing back in people. And one of the places, you are the executive director of Women in Media.
Yep.
And you have built this really cutting edge program that filled a gap that was so long in our business, and we're still building. I have to, for disclosure, I am an advisory board member, so I'm not just a believer. I am literally a participant in some of that process.
Awesome advisory board member,
So,
I'm going to say.
Well, I appreciate that. I believe in what you do so much.
Thank you.
Maybe you can explain for people what Women in Media is, because I think there's so many people who need us that haven't found us yet.
Yeah. We're an organization that is working for gender balance in the entertainment industry. Honestly, right now, we're just trying to help rebuild the entertainment industry because it's a tough market right now. But it came out of a need where women and gender nonconforming folks were just not visible, right? So there was a big frustration. So 2010, I started the organization. We became a nonprofit in 2017. But there's a big frustration amongst women in particular that nobody would hire us, certainly not once we got to a certain level, right? So we could be slogging it out, working really hard, doing independent projects, and ready to bust through. And there was like a lack of credibility. It was just the weirdest thing. Whereas we saw guys who maybe we had trained moving ahead. And we were like, well, what is this disconnect and how do we change things? And for many, many years, this was a nut that nobody could crack because the feeling was that if we just hire one more woman director, she will do all the hiring and that will fix the parity problems and the balance problems. And my feeling was that if we hired more department heads, if we aimed for more gender balance in the crew, if we made it clear that there were very qualified women ready to do the work, that it would help change things. So I came up with a few different ideas and I sent them around to all the nonprofits in town, not to be named, but many nonprofits who you know, and none of them wanted to get on board with this idea of really working from below the line. My feeling was that if we bring up below the line and continue to crush from above the line, it would meet in the middle and we would find better balance in the industry, which would be good for everybody, the men as well, right? This is not just like, nobody wants to take your job. We just want a chance to have a level playing field and that really the best and the brightest are moving up, right? And sometimes that happens to be a lady, and often it's a lady of color, So we wanted to make sure those opportunities were going in a fair and balanced way. So, like I say, I went to all these other organizations. None of them were interested because they were mostly focused on directors and producers and actresses and all that. And that's fair. That's fine. But my feeling was that we needed to include below the line. So since I couldn't get anybody else to do it, I started my own darn organization. And my goal in life hadn't been to be the executive director of a nonprofit. If you had told me that 20 years prior, 15 years prior, I would have told you were crazy. Like, no, I'm a production designer. That's all I want to do. But I just saw this need in the industry, and I thought, well, we'll give it a go. I have this crazy idea that we'll build a crew list. Right? We'll build a contact sheet. It started out as a Google Doc, like a dumb Google Doc, because I kept getting calls from people, men, women, everybody, because I'd been doing a monthly networking event where people would sign in with their contact information and their job titles. And people kept asking me, can you recommend a, DP or, whatever department? And I thought, well, I don't want to be an agent either. I'll just put it up there and people can just go look themselves. So I got everybody who'd been coming to my events to put their information up on a Google Doc. And before you know it, 2,000 people were using Google Doc. And the Google machine wasn't made to handle that kind of traffic.
Right.
So, I realized that we had to do something else, and that clearly there was a need and desire to find people easily on a crew list. And at the time, there really weren't any searchable databases for anybody. Not to my knowledge. I couldn't find them.
No, there really weren't. And it's a very interesting, too, because for people outside this business or people just getting in, you have to have done the job for people to really feel comfortable hiring you for the job.
Yep.
But you can't do the job until you've done the job. And so, yeah. And so I knew a lot of women who were working in like the camera department, but they were like the camera assistant, right?
Yeah.
And they knew a lot of the skills and had some of these things, but no one would give them the leap to necessarily be the camera operator.
Correct.
Nobody was giving them the leap. We started doing programs around town for directors in areas that were really visible.
Yeah.
But all of these other parts of what we do in the crew, there's so many amazing jobs where people's artistry comes to play that aren't in positions that people see.
Yep.
And they're just as important.
Absolutely. And women were doing 1,000 shadowing programs.
Yes.
Men get jobs. Women get shadowing programs. And that's something else that we kind of would point out. There's nothing wrong with shadowing. Like, everybody does need to shadow to get a feel for what they need to do. But I knew people who had been in the industry who had like 60 projects, 60 TV projects under their belt as directors, and then fell out of the business for maybe a couple of years. And then they had to go back to a program. They had to go back to somebody who could teach the class.
Right.
Had to go back to shadowing. So, yes, you're absolutely right. And the crew list was helpful because it made people visible. So you could see their qualifications, their IMDb, their resume, if they're union or non-union, look at their reel, all these things that you couldn't say they couldn't do the work and move up, level up to the next job. So that was really important, and that has helped considerably. And then, other organizations began to see how really valuable this was. And working with them has really helped. We've become very friendly with the ASE. Their vision committee is phenomenal. And they've really been part of helping progress women and gender nonconforming folks in the camera department. They're just an incredible partner.
I love all of the training programs because in conjunction with so many of the different unions, you've built all of these training programs. And as someone who's actively been involved and has helped kind of lead people to these programs, it's so valuable because if you want to change, you have to get the skills. But these are very specific skills. And they're changing rapidly.
They are.
Like our technology is changing almost daily. And so everyone is in the struggle. And that's the other part, is I've watched people that I've seen who have worked here for 30 years coming to events and saying, oh, yeah, I need to learn about AI. I need to learn about new camera gear. I need to learn about digital media, right? Like I've been in this since film, but I need to learn how to do special effects or, graphics and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And we it's like every month we have stuff going on. There's almost feels like something every couple of weeks.
It's bonkers. You've got to be very nimble and you need to have an open mind to learn new things all the time. So we're always working with vendor partners and different companies and our own membership base to figure out what people need, to what the next big thing is so that they are prepared and ready to continue to be at the top of the heap. We want our members to be the most horrible people on the planet. That's the goal.
And we've done sustainability things, right?
Yes.
And that's another area where there are now people who are being hired for sustainability on sets.
Yep.
It's also an awareness that more people have.
Yeah.
So you put together a program, and we did basically this whole expo, this whole event where everyone came and talked about sustainability and the progress in it and the companies that were involved. And it was this beautiful synergy of creative folks, but with a mission and also the financial portion of it. Like, how does this make your set more efficient, more financially effective, right? And it was positive for the bottom line, so it's kind of positive for everybody. And it opened a lot of people's eyes, which I thought was also beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're making the case that, yes, we want to be good to the planet because it's our only home, really. We don't have another one yet. But also, yes, there is a very strong case to be made that you can save a lot of money by, for one, just having a water bottle that people can refill is just smart money. Right? Electric power, especially now with what's happening with gas.
Yeah.
How smart is it to have electric batteries on set?
Yeah, we have all kinds of different generators. There's so much technology that, 5 years ago just didn't exist and wasn't accessible, and now there is. And then also we do this beautiful thing every year, which is the holiday toast, right? Where we celebrate groundbreakers, people who have really paved the way in this business. I thought it was really interesting because when Tig got honored last year as a best boy, I thought the speech was beautiful because the introduction was, ironically, the best boy in the business is a woman.
Yeah.
And she does tremendous work.
She does.
But she doesn't always get the credit. And a lot of people who work behind the camera don't necessarily want the spotlight.
Sure.
But they do want to be known for the amazing work they do. And I think that's part of this, is you give people a space to be highlighted.
I feel like the holiday toast has moved the needle as much, if not more, than anything else we've done. Amazing. I mean, CAMERAderie is great. All of it is great. It's a big ecosystem of how do we build this industry. But the holiday toast shows that there's historical precedence. And when I started doing this, people were saying women haven't done this. They can't do it, all these crazy things. First of all, they couldn't find women. And second of all, if they could find them, they didn't believe that they could do the work, or they'd worked with a woman once and it didn't work out or whatever, which didn't happen with men. Like, we've all worked with men and it didn't work out and didn't stop us from hiring more men. But likewise, with the holiday toast, people prior to that didn't really think there was a precedent for women in the industry, so clearly there would be no precedent moving forward. But they didn't know about Dorothy Arzner, who created the boom mic, who was the first woman in the DGA, who did Paramount's first talkie. That's a whole other story. Or Alice Guy Blanchet, who quite likely made the first narrative film. The first animated feature was done by Lotte Reininger, a woman. And all of this history had been swept under the rug, and we felt that it was necessary to make it visible. But why not fix that in real time while people are alive, so that they are being taught in the history books? Because those women, I didn't learn about them in film history.
No, I didn't either.
I took 6 film history classes as an undergraduate, and then I was like a film history buff. I'm just a history buff, period. And I didn't know who they were. And that's criminal, because I look for history for everything. I love history for all cultures and all people. I was boggled that I didn't know who these people are. And that's why it was so important that we highlight these people who are huge in our industry, like Mandy Walker. Right, who's the first woman president of the ASC, and P.S. nominated for an Academy Award for cinematography. And now we just had Autumn Arkapaw, who won. First Black person. They're talking about her being the first person of color, first woman of color. But I was checking with a friend of mine. I'm going to have to double check on this. And I could be wrong. Please put in the comments if I'm wrong on this. But from what I understand, she is the first Black person to win. I was like, wait a minute, Ernest? And my friend was like, no, Ernest moved into directing.
Yeah.
So
it's
is that crazy?
It is. It's crazy.
It's crazy making. How is this possible? I mean, it's wonderful, but it's also
it's wonderful that we're making progress, but progress is slow. And I think
we're close to 100 years of Academy Awards.
Yeah.
We're just getting to this. I mean, bless them, they did it. I'm glad. And Autumn, wow, what a job. Absolutely. Technically, the film is amazing. Aesthetically, oh my gosh, so powerful and beautiful. I mean, breathtaking. And it's something that's going to be taught in film schools and just schools, colleges forever. They're going to be talking about this film.
I agree.
I think so.
Yeah.
On many levels.
And as you're teaching people, I want to talk about camaraderie shorts first, right?
Sure.
Because this is a space where you're launching people. Is you're giving people an opportunity that they don't always have Maybe talk about that program for people so that they know and so they can find you for the next rounds.
Yeah, well, CAMERAderie came out of a need to show women moving up and able to do more than what people expected. And the idea was to have better production value because women at the time were working on smaller productions. And by that, it's like you would see them with like one camera and then like 3 or 4 people behind them. So very low budget. I mean, some people were working at higher levels too, but not enough. So we wanted to give people the opportunity to work on something at like a decent budget and to have all the bells and whistles so that they could have that production value. So we've shot 7 short films that in 2 rounds that were very good scripts, and then we developed it with them. We were able to get amazing equipment. We had like Arri cameras and Zeiss lenses and Sigma lenses and Atlas lenses, anamorphic, so you could shoot anamorphic or spherical. And we brought in MBS Group and Television City, the historic, amazing building. We shot on the Dancing with the Stars stage. We built sets. We had a grip and electric program, illumination at Television City, which was phenomenal. People learned how to use flags, and some people already knew. They knew how to tie knots, and they helped other people. But there were people who learned how to tie knots. Like, it was real nitty gritty. And then we had some time in their shop where they built stuff and painted things and got to work on a real professional, amazing location. People who got to hang 200 lights in the ceiling on the Dancing with the Stars stage. So you can't say that person doesn't know how to do that because they've done it and they worked with the union guy.
Yep.
And I do mean union guy. A really great guy.
Yeah, great.
Amazing guy.
And that's one of the things I would highlight. I guess I'm probably a good example for this is because there were a lot of great men who are coming and participating and helping to lift, but passing on their skills, passing on their experience.
And hiring.
And what we've created really more than anything is a network for people to be found, to grow, and then to expand.
Exactly.
And that's not gender specific. That's across the board. And people are learning on all sides and every demographic you can think of. But the business is struggling.
It is struggling. But I just want to say one more thing about that. When we were doing our CAMERAderie shorts, we had a fair amount of men working on them. We wanted to make sure we had about at least 30% men. 70% of our members, at least 30% men. That way, they could catch the vibe. Like how nice it is being with women and gender nonconforming folks on set, and what the level of professionalism was, so that they would feel comfortable saying, "Oh, I worked with this gal. I think you should hire her." Or, "Oh, I'm on a gig. I want you to come on." Because that's how you bond and make friends.
Right.
And then you keep moving up. But yes, you are absolutely correct. The industry is very difficult right now for everybody.
Because there's a number of people who have been in the union a really long time who can't find any work and have been unemployed for a really long period of time. And I'm not trying to scare everybody who's in entertainment, but the truth is, if you're in this business, and it's a reality, is the business is changing, which is also part of why the programs that you're building are so important, is because that's what helps you continue. Now, to that end, you're launching something new.
We are. Well, we're looking for funding. We would like to do what's essentially a WPA program for the film industry. We want to do CAMERAderie, but features, because people need the work.
From the beginning, from the ground up, from the development of an idea, and bringing the best and brightest together.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that they're skilled on the hottest, newest equipment and whatever they need to know how to use, whether it's a volumetric stage or, the newest cameras, the newest lenses, the newest lights, all of that. And we want to produce a few feature films. Shoot them back to back, much like we did with the original CAMERAderie shorts, with some time in between to do the quality control on the equipment. Have 3 buckets of funding, right? So we want to be able to offer grants. Hello, if you're in government, we're looking at you, right? Or any other nonprofits who are interested, or foundations who want to be part of this.
Right.
So we want to offer grants, and we want to offer equity. so people can make some cash on this as well. And also let people do fiscal sponsorship through us if they want to do some crowdfunding, and also build awareness as well. And we want it to be on projects that are doable. We want to have high production value like we always do. We want them to be something that people are going to want to see, which doesn't mean they can't be quirky or weird or interesting or whatever, or independently minded, but something people will want to see and will be fun. But also not like 1,000 company moves, please, because that eats up your day and your money. Not a cast of thousands, please, limited cast. And all of that is very doable. We've seen a lot of projects that are maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 5 or 6 or 7 locations, or you shoot a space that can be multiple locations, or if you're on soundstage, you can certainly make that work.
Right.
But we want to have a lot of infrastructure for that as well. We want to have a dedicated line producer so that people's budgets and schedules are realistic and adhered to. Because as independent producers, we're like, I think I know what I want, but is it accurate? I don't know. So we're going to run it by somebody who we know is.
And some of the best in the business, right?
Absolutely.
These people are getting an opportunity to work with the best in the business. And it's not just brand new people, but it is a combination of experienced people and brand new people coming together to get the best ideas made in a really collaborative environment.
There are so many mid-career people out there who should be bumping up and doing bigger, better projects, should be getting those opportunities. So many people.
And so many of those areas where we used to make projects have kind of disappeared, or the funding is dried up.
That's true.
So this is to bridge that gap and kind of create something special in the world.
Yeah.
Now, this is really passionate for you, not just on a personal level, but like a family level. This business is a family affair, right?
Yes. So are you talking about my child?
Yes.
Okay. Well, she's going to hate me for this.
That's okay. We'll brag about her a little, because I'm very fond of her too. So
she's really crazy talented. She's a writer.
Yeah.
And she's only a teenager. She's not quite 20 yet.
Right.
And she's written her first feature, and she's working on some more. And personally, I think it's very good. I'm a tough audience, but I think she's on like her 4th draft. And I'm like, oh, I've read finished projects that maybe weren't quite as good. So I'm sending it out to friends to see if they'll read it and give her feedback. And she's also in a writer's group. She just has a real passion for it. I don't really know where she gets it, because I'm not really a writer, but she really has a great grasp on human behavior and twisty things, which I really like that. I like the twisty side.
I like her creativity. I like that she's very much the observer, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you meet her, she's kind of quiet at first, but she takes in everything in a room.
She does.
And I think that comes from you.
Oh,
is so like, I think she expresses her artistic just in a more written form. Yours was super visual.
Yeah.
And I think she took your visual and turned it into her own way. And I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah. And she does write visually, for sure. But she also, like you say, she has a real psychological bent to an insight to what she writes about. And it can be kind of weird and twisty and sometimes heartbreaking as well, but also very beautiful and fun and very much for her generation. But I'm also very much able to enjoy her writing as well.
It's very interesting because she definitely is specific to her time period and cutting edge, but she's not off-putting to somebody who's older. And that's a fine line to walk.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. She's very comfortable, I guess, being around all my friends, and having been going to these events for such a long time. She doesn't get uncomfortable with heroes, right?
Yeah.
So, which is kind of nice to see. I'll be like, oh, that person worked on blah, blah, blah. She'll be like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, she's not fazed by any of it, which I think is a great trait, especially in this business, because she's like, oh, yeah, that's a good project. And she's like, okay, what else? What else are we doing, right? And she's also very driven about whatever she's responsible for, which at that age is an incredible blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the one who gets starstruck, which is kind of nuts. I'll be like, oh my God, 'cause she'll be showing me something that a friend of ours had done.
Give us an example. Like somebody who you were like starstruck.
Somebody who I was starstruck?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you years ago, I was starstruck when I met Cab Calloway.
Okay.
Totally starstruck. And I was working in the nightclubs. I was a little underage, little bit, but I loved jazz music. And I was very familiar with who Cab Calloway was, even as a 20-year-old. Very familiar. And I'd seen his movies. I'd listened to his music. So when I got to work with him, I was like, okay, I'm cool. I'm going to be cool about this. So I was the art and lighting director at a nightclub. You know, you do a little tech rehearsal during the day before the gig. And I walk up and I say, hi, Mr. Calloway. My name is Tema. I'm going to be your lighting director tonight. And he says, I'm sorry, darling, I didn't hear you. And he brings me over like almost on his lap. And I'm like, oh. And I was like, Mr. Calloway, I'll be lighting you tonight. He was like, and he heard me fine for the rest of the day. And then I went and talked to his band leader, and he was the most charming, lovely person. But I find this very often when I meet people in our industry as well, who are just like working at a very high level or whose work I greatly admire if they're a production designer. Well, actually, here's one. So I went in for a job to teach, and my boss to be well-known production designer, Barbara Dunphy. Oh, yeah. She's one of the top 5 production designers in Canada, and she was teaching here. And I go in for my interview, and she tells me basically what she's looking for. And I said, oh, well, I've got that planned out. And I show her my plan. I had it all written out, and I gave it to her. She was like, oh my gosh, it's already done. And at the end of my interview, and we were just having a great time, just talking art and aesthetics and all that. And at the end of the interview, I said, I hope you don't mind, but I IMDb'd you. And you worked on one of my favorite all-time movies to the point where I watched it over and over again in high school. And I know all the words for it. That's how well I know this film. And she was like, okay. I said, you worked on Videodrome. And she started laughing. She was that film is so weird. She was like, Cronenberg is a really nice, normal guy, but his movies are weird.
Okay.
I tortured my friends. I made them watch that film almost every weekend for years. I said, I can quote it for you. And she was like, yeah. She was like, I can't. I was like, well, I can. And I was like quoting it for her. She was like, cool. And I was like, this one probably thinks I'm like out of my mind. But we ended up working together, and we're still really close friends to this day. But I absolutely admire her. And I found as a boss, whenever I need to be in charge of things, I think, what would Barbara do? Because I never felt like I was necessarily working for her, but I felt like I was working with her, and that I always felt like she had my back. I always felt confident in my work with her. So I try to do that as a leader in general. You know, have her level of kindness and generosity, and also her level of competence. She's like really freaking good.
Amazing.
You know, she's been up
amazing.
for art director awards, you know, the ADG awards. So she's very, very good. So I try to have that level of competence. Like, if I can be half as competent as Barbara Dunphy and half as kind as Barbara Dunphy, I'm killing it. I'm just knocking it out of the park.
Okay, that brings me to an interesting question since you said that.
Yeah.
If there was a project you could go back to, knowing what you know now, what would you go back to if you were going to, with these skills, to do something slightly different? Like, where would you take that knowledge?
I feel like I would be better at drafting.
Oh.
I'm okay at drafting, but I feel like if I had more time to wrap my head around drafting, I think that would have made my career that much better. I'm really good at building models.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as a production designer, I mean, production designing, you don't really do a lot of drafting. But I feel like moving up into becoming a production designer, I think that's where I was okay. And my drawing because back then we were hand drafting.
Yeah.
Right? I learned more about hand drafting when I met Barbara, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Big finish questions,
Okay.
right? You ready?
Yeah.
What is the first thing you look at on a call sheet?
I look at the first shot of the day. When are we supposed to be rolling and moving?
Okay. What is the last thing you want to see on a call sheet?
too many things squished into a day, too many shots or shots that are in different locations that don't that shouldn't be. And hopefully that's been taken care of in advance. Hopefully that hasn't made it to the call sheet. But if something happened overnight, like there'd better be a good reason why we're not shooting out a room, right? And that happens.
Right.
It happens that there's an actor consideration or something. But if you're looking at that and it's kind of like, it can't be on a whim. It's got to be for real.
Okay.
And then you make adjustments if you have to.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than like having to leave a room or come back or do a continuity thing
Oh, God,
come back.
continuity.
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't mess a sister up with the continuity, please.
Look, I directed an episode where we shot 8 people around a kitchen table, and then they decided to cut half of that scene and then put it into another episode, but then finish the scene. So like a month later, we had to come back and do continuity for 8 people around the table, and then we added more people. Like I'm like, not the continuity thing, because it's like always
food continuity.
Yeah, food continuity is a nightmare. Yeah, good times.
Oh yeah. Especially if you're like in the art department, you're like checking the water levels, the drink levels, the food levels. Oh yeah, it's
a nightmare.
How much did they eat? Are they eating matzo ball soup? Because then you're having fun, people.
Yes. Got to put them together and make everything match. And
they had how much of that? Okay.
Yeah, no fun.
No. But you do it.
Yeah, speaking of food.
Yeah.
All right, what's the thing you love to see at craft services?
Okay, so I love seeing a nice coffee station.
Okay.
Especially if you have a hardworking crew.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, especially if you have had just like normal coffee throughout the day, and then they show up with like the beautiful cappuccino maker, you know, and some like really good looking person. We like a little eye candy. You know, somebody great. And by that, I don't mean just handsome. I mean like just like beautiful energy.
Yeah.
And they know they're there to bring up the crew. That is such a boost for the crew. But okay, go ahead. You have more questions.
What do you hate to see at craft services?
Okay, I have a love-hate relationship with red vines.
Okay, you're going to have to say more. I need to understand this.
Okay, so we're all used to, red vines are like the classic.
Right.
They're pretty much on every set. They are disgusting.
Yeah.
Am I right?
No, because usually they've been there so long that they've been sitting in the sun or whatever, and they're either like incredibly hard, like you're trying not to chip your teeth and you got to break them apart with a tool.
Yeah.
Or they're so melted that they're like
disgusting.
They just like falling apart, and you're just like, it's not so great.
Red dye, it's so disgusting.
But they come in that big thing, and they're just available, and they're easy for everybody.
They do. And since they're kind of a staple of like, it's like, oh, we're on a shoot now because the red vines are, I would never, ever look at them in real life. You know, no shade to red vines, but, you know, you're not on a set until there's like one of those buckets of red vines. You know you're there.
And I'm always like, with the most love, I'm like, I know who washes their hands and who doesn't. I'm always like, no, I'll get those for you. Because if I see certain people, I'm like, I'll get those for you because I might have to. Because 3-4 hours from now, that might be the only thing that's left is the bucket of red vines. And if I gotta if I gotta go in there, I want to make sure. I'm like, let me get that for you.
Yes. Handheld things, you know, something that's like individually packed. I love me a little pack of the nuts, you know, like the trail mix or something. You can just rip that up and shove it down. Perfect. You know, it doesn't have to be that fancy. But yeah, the grab and go is awesome. But then also it's nice when people come through with a little platter of stuff. Nobody can leave their station and somebody comes through. That's really respectful as well. But I have to say, set runs on coffee. Make it good. Okay.
What is the way that you define success, Tema?
I think holding oneself to a level of professionalism and kindness on set. I think having people speak well of you in the industry means that you're successful. I mean, certainly if you're earning some nickels, that's not a bad thing. But I think also being able to bring people up along with you, seeing people really build their careers around you, I think that's really a good sign that we're all succeeding. I think that's important, that abundance mentality as opposed to the meagerness. Like we don't have to fight over each other. I think that's unnecessary. And it's a kind of a terrible way to live. Like who wants to live that way? But I feel like when you and everybody else is moving up, that's really a sign of success. People you've worked with in the past who are like moving up. It's great.
Yeah, I normally ask people, how are you doing based on your definition? But like, you've literally built a organization that's designed to do exactly what you just said. So
Yeah.
I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. You know, I was just reading through the survey, and it was really heartwarming. People said so many beautiful things about the organization and also about me personally. It made me feel like, oh, maybe this is having an effect, and maybe it is worth continuing on and doing the work. And, you know, 'cause it's hard. It can be very, very hard.
Oh, yeah, and people don't know how much work.
discouraging. Oh, it's so much.
And we're not just building stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're going to organizations and we're talking to people, but we've also been talking to local leadership and government and
Absolutely.
trying to figure out tax credits and streamlining. You know, when I watch the news and they say, oh, you know, they streamlined the process for
Right.
permits and things like that. I'm like, well, yeah, because Tema was
How do you think that happens?
was walking into every office for years, right?
And it's like we make phone calls and we go to, like I was down at City Hall and
Right.
calling our elected officials and meeting with them in person. You know, it's not like you just do it and then it's done. You have to do it regularly. And then you have to build paperwork and documentation and proposals and business plans. So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that people just never see.
And somebody has to do it. And I think part of this is also there's a benefit, not just to people in our business, but to the greater environment around us.
Yeah.
The amount of money that's spent around a production, I think, is really underestimated.
Yes.
You know, going back to the coffee thing, I always think of like, I've worked on sets where stars or directors have been like, I want a Starbucks.
Right.
And the next thing you know, 500 people are getting Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
For that Starbucks, you just got 500 more orders than normal, or a local restaurant. Like
Yeah.
we're going to cater another meal because we have to add a meal. We're going to a local restaurant. That's a huge boom for
Huge.
everyone around production.
Dry cleaners, right there. That
Yeah.
alone, dry cleaning, car washes, like all the things that need to get done for those of us who are going to events, but also that happen around the actual making of the film. So, yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay, so
The caterers, definitely.
if you can have anything, what's the one thing you want on every set?
Top of the line gear, definitely. So, does it have to be an object?
No, could be anything you want. I didn't specify on
Okay,
purpose.
all right,
I left
okay,
it open
okay.
on purpose.
All right. I want people to have muscle in their hustle, but not get hurt. Safety first.
Beautiful.
I want people to work. You know, we're all working at a clip. We're focused. We're doing things. Nobody's like slowing her down. But we also don't want people to be like tripping on things or not mindful or not seeing things or not mindful of other people's body space. So they get around each other like they're dancing as opposed to crashing.
Yes.
That would be preferable.
Yes, no stepping on anybody else's feet.
Please.
No tripping people with your equipment or leaving the mess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, then what's the one thing you would eliminate from every set if you could?
Gossip.
Ooh, beautiful. Yeah, it's ruined a lot of sets.
Yeah, you get two people together in a room, 3 people,
Yeah.
and there's going to be talk about stuff. But I think people need to keep their money on their mind on their money and their money on their mind. Focus, keep involved on the project, and you might not like everybody on set. That's just real. But you have to be respectful and do your best to be kind. You know, if you have some anxiety about somebody or something, unfortunately, you got to kind of like be a pro and not
We're a team.
make it a thing.
Whether you want it or not, we're here for this production and put the production first.
Exactly. And if you have beef with somebody, take them aside and clear the air.
Right.
And then you got to shake and be friends and move forward, because too long of a day, too hard of a day, you need to have a sense of humor in this business. That's one thing I look for in my crew. If I'm hiring people, especially when I was in the art department, it's like, can they do the work? Yes. They have a license? Yes. They're a good, strong person. Do they have a sense of humor? Because at the end of the day, we've got to be able to have fun.
Yeah, 12, 13, 14 hours into a day, if you're terrible to spend time with, or if you come in every day and you're miserable on the way in, 5, 10, 15 hours from now, I don't have time for that.
No.
Like it's going to be miserable.
Exactly. Like, we want to have fun on set. We want to be able to joke around, and by that I mean like something that I'm sure you've heard a lot is the hazing that happens on set. That's something I could do without as well.
I'm anti-hazing.
It's so bad, especially for like the PAs or the younger people. This is an old timer thing. I don't think people do this anymore. I could be wrong.
I wish I could say that they don't. Okay. I still think they do.
You know where I'm going.
Yes.
Where they send the PA out to do something that does not exist. Go find me X item that isn't a thing.
Yes.
And they'll send them, who has time for this? And why would you do that to somebody? It's supposed to be like a rite of passage, but it ends up just being mean-spirited. It's meant to humiliate people. And I don't think that's good. And that might be a thing that people did in the past, but I think it needs to be in the past, and let that go and just help people do their jobs. And be kind. If you have younger people who are new, teach them the ropes. Everybody, and I mean, not just your nephew, like everybody.
Get them up to speed as fast as possible because it makes the production better. And nothing kills me more. The moment you decide to send all the PAs on the wild goose chase is the moment something happens on set and you need them.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, where are all the PAs? And like,
they're looking for a C-47.
You're right. He's looking for a C-47 and people are like, what's a C-40? And you're like, that's the point. And it's like, it's not cute at that point, right? Then you look real childish and, now we have a bigger problem.
Exactly. And by the way, that refers to a grip that sent, or lighting, somebody in G&E who sent some poor person out to find what's basically what is that?
They're like clip things.
Clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a clothes washer clip. It's a clothing line clip.
Yeah.
That we would use to put gels on stuff. And they called it a C-47 to mess the kid up.
Yeah. And sends them, and people are out asking. And
now we actually call it that now.
Yes.
Right?
And then also people look at you and go, we don't have any of those, right? And then they just shift you to the next person. And then the person, 3 hours later, the person's like feverishly running around, sweating profusely.
And feeling terrible.
And feeling terrible about themselves and their life choices and thinking, I'm never going to keep this job and I'm going to get fired. And this is their whole dream. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, no, kid. It's just a clothespin.
Yeah.
Go take this back and tell them to stop being a jerk to you.
And they're like.
And then they're just mad. And they're sad.
Yeah.
And they can't really talk back.
And wondering why somebody would be so cruel. So, and it's like, just being on a set.
Okay, so what is the best gift you've ever gotten from a project?
I've gotten some nice gifts. I have. I got perfume, like a very nice fancy perfume, beautiful, from a martial arts actor who like he came on set, super tough. When you hung out with him, big goofball, sweet as hell, super nice. And that was a classy gift. But I've also gotten, when I assisted Therese Dupre, the great production designer on American Splendor, she gave us these amazing T-shirts. So it's about Harvey Pekar, the rather eccentric comic book artist who did American Splendor comics for many years in Cleveland. And she made these amazing T-shirts. We had to rebuild some of the art for the comic books because of IP, that's always an issue. So some of that was rebuilt. Our Crumb did the drawings, but we had to redo them. And Harvey wrote the books. So she made a beautiful T-shirt for us. It was really great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I still have it, and that was a million years ago.
I
won't tell you.
Yeah.
It was a little while ago.
Okay.
So, yeah, and the only other really amazing gift I've gotten that wasn't technically not from being on set, was that I was LA County Woman of the Year. Which was awesome.
Wait, you can't throw that out like really casual, like, I did this one thing. I was LA County.
Yeah, there were 12 of us because for each of the counties, right? Each of the districts. So, but I was one of them, and they gave me this beautiful crystal award and all these beautiful artwork that I have on my wall they're so pretty.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really nice.
Would you just slide that in? Like we're just gonna pretend like it's nobody did. No, I don't. Not that. I thought I knew a lot about you, but apparently I'm gonna learn more and more stuff.
Women of many surprises.
I like that. Okay, so of the things that I've asked you, there's one that kind of sticks out in my head. Because you help so many people. How do you want the people who work with you to remember you?
that I tried my best to make the world a better place, to make certainly whatever I can do, try to make it better, hoping that other people will also be part of that I've tried to bring other people into that ethos, and that we've really done our best to make things better.
Okay, and what's the legacy you want your loved ones to take from your life?
I have done my best to teach my family and their friends when they'll take it, financial stability, how to be, which is difficult, especially right now, because things are so haywire. But for my immediate friend group and my family, just try to teach them some financial literacy, which I didn't learn until very late in life. Because nobody taught me. I don't come from money. I don't come from...
Me either.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't come from an investment class. I don't come from a philanthropy class. I come from very modest means, so I had to learn how to make my own situation more stable, because working for wages, I never made any money. That's the reality of it. Working in the industry, once I got pregnant, it was kind of like the people I'd been working with, I was persona non grata, which was also something that I think is changing considerably, and it should. So I want to make sure that my family and that our friends and the people around us have some way to weather the storm as best we can, because the storms come. Here we are.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Because this is an experience that a lot of people have had, but almost no one talks about.
Yeah.
When you work really high in this business and then you have a baby like that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'd love to know your experience. In my experience, having watched people experience this, is it's almost like, oh, well, your priorities can't be 100% ours, so we're going to push away from you.
Yeah.
Was that?
I mean, you have to take people as individuals, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, like, my husband is the maternal one in the family, which doesn't mean I'm not loving or maternal, but my husband is very good that way. My daughter is a daddy's girl, which I think is, I was a daddy's girl, so I get it. Yeah. I identify. After I had, I had been at home for 4 months with my baby, and maybe it was even less. I was still like kind of working as well. I was like, I need some grown-up time, because I'll lose my mind if I don't have grown-up time. I wasn't somebody who wanted to take years off to have family time. And men don't really take time off for family time. If you have a partner who can help you juggle all that, or you're able to hire people who can help you, or you have family who can help you. Like, I have a friend who had a baby completely on her own, didn't want a husband. She was doing great in the entertainment industry, and her sister became her nanny, and they traveled the world together and all.
Great.
So, yeah, awesome. Had an amazing career. But, I don't think people should be making that decision for you. Like, let me decide if I want to take time off with the family. Like, and it should be parental leave, not just mothers.
Right.
It should be mothers or fathers. And if we're going to be a country that believes in quote-unquote family values, and it isn't just lip service, which is what it is, let's be honest. Right now, it is lip service. We do not have family values in this country. If we did, we would make it easier for people to have families. Or not have families. If you don't want to have a family, don't have a family.
No, but the flexibility for whether mom or dad wants to stay home, you should get a set amount or a family allotment of time. And if all of it goes to one person, or you split it up, or however you want to do it, but the kid is the one who benefits the most from it.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But you really need to let people figure that out for themselves. And I mean, men and women, like whoever wants to be at home should be at home, and whoever doesn't should also be out and about. I was really into working. I love working. As you know, I'm an early riser, and I'm still answering messages late.
Yeah, if anyone looked at our timestamps, we'd both be like in trouble. Like, you guys ever sleep?
That's right. What's wrong with you people?
No.
Up at this hour.
We've lived a life of entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
when
you.
you're passionate. Right. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And I'm so happy to celebrate you, Tema.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be with you, Michael. Always. Thank you.